Some campfire stories are told under the stars and forgotten by morning. But some, they don't happen just once. There's no creature in this story, no ghost either. My channel is so close to reaching 100 subscribers. If you haven't subscribed yet, it's completely free and would mean a lot if you supported me. Let me know in the comments if you subscribed. I'll be dropping a heart on those comments. And don't forget to share this video. There are no monsters in this story, no ghosts. But once it begins, there's no turning back. My name is Nathaniel. Before I tell you this story, there's one thing you need to know. The scariest thing that can happen to a person is not going insane. It's slowly losing touch with reality, without ever realizing when it all began. Last summer, I went camping with 3 friends, deep in the northern mountains, to a place the locals no longer visited. Grace, Damon, and Felix. No internet, no GPS, just silence. We wanted to disappear into nature. Damon brought an old compass. It belonged to his father. He said it didn't just show direction, it could feel places. That sentence was the beginning of everything. On the second morning, we woke up to the compass spinning, non-stop. It wasn't pointing north. It just kept turning and turning, the needle trembling in perfect circles, clockwise. Damon laughed it off. Grace thought it was a prank. But me, I felt it. It wasn't a malfunction. It was a warning. That day, we decided to leave the camp. But we noticed something. The forest changed as we walked. The trees got denser, the sky darker, and most of all, we were trapped in a loop, going in circles. The compass kept spinning, but now it made a sound. Click, 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 like it was counting down. Felix stopped suddenly. He squinted his eyes. "There's someone over there," he said. He swore he saw a silhouette behind the trees. But we saw nothing. That night, around the fire, Grace started talking. About 3 a.m., "I heard a woman whispering," she said. She kept repeating, "You shouldn't have come back." But the voice wasn't out loud. It was inside her head. I didn't sleep that night, because when Grace spoke, her lips never moved. The next morning, Felix was gone. His tent was empty. His boots still there. But no footprints. We searched all day, but the forest was no longer familiar. The trees had moved. When we returned to the campsite, everything was gone. No tents, no gear. Like we'd never been there at all. Only the compass was still on the ground. And for the first time, it had stopped. The needle was pointing north. But north was underground. Damon snapped. "There's a passage under the ground. That's where we're supposed to go," he yelled. Grace and I tried to stop him, but he dropped to his knees and started digging with his bare hands. After an hour, he uncovered something. A wooden hatch, chained shut, covered in ancient symbols. And in the center, an eye. Not a real eye, but it watched. It felt alive. When the hatch opened, the world fell silent. No birds, no wind, not even our own voices. Only Damon's breathing. And then, he vanished, like he was pulled in. But there was no sound of falling. It was like he entered a void that had no bottom. Grace cried. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't move. Then the compass started spinning again. But the sound had changed. Click, click, Click. Tick-tock, tick-tock, like a clock. But one counting down. Grace fell silent, turned to me, and whispered, "You were already here, Nathaniel. You never left." That's when it all made sense. I had lived this before. The same faces, the same voices. I just didn't remember. And now, it was beginning again. The compass reset. The trees shifted. The campfire reignited. I'm telling this story for one reason only. In case someone out there picks up that same compass. Because in the forest, some paths don't lead back. They never close. Time becomes a circle, and you stay trapped in its center. If this story pulled you in, don't forget to subscribe, because the voices echoing in the forest might not just be the wind. Sometimes, they're waiting just for you. My name is Ellis. The only reason I'm telling this story is maybe to stop someone else from making the same mistake one day. Because what I experienced wasn't just a nightmare. And sometimes, the place you pitch your tent might not really belong to you. Last summer, we went on our annual hiking trip to Rocky Pine Forest. There were 5 of us. Me, my brother Joel, his girlfriend Mia, our college friend Cameron, and the quiet but clever Ava. Every year, we picked a different forest to camp in and lose ourselves in nature for a few days. But this year, the forest didn't welcome us. We spent the first night by the lake. It was peaceful, calm. The sky was clear, stars were bright. Mia played her guitar, Joel told an old scary story, Ava smiled but didn't speak a word. Cameron kept fussing with the fire. That night, none of us noticed anything strange. But the second night, I entered the wrong tent. That's all. I was walking back from the bathroom, a little tipsy. All the tents looked the same. And I walked into the one I thought was mine. But inside, it felt off. The air was much colder. The floor was slightly damp. And the sounds from outside were muffled. I didn't turn on the light. I just laid down and tried to sleep. But the moment I closed my eyes, I heard a whisper. "You don't belong here." I opened my eyes. The tent was completely black inside. Not just dark, heavy, suffocating black. I sat up, tried to get out, but there was no zipper. The tent walls were smooth, as if it wasn't made of fabric anymore, as if the walls were alive. And then they started breathing, slowly, collapsing inward. I screamed, squeezed my eyes shut and yelled. And when I opened them again, it was morning, and I was back in my own tent. My friends were making breakfast like nothing happened. But that morning, I realized something. This wasn't my tent. This wasn't my time. Joel's wrist was wrapped in a bandage. It had been fine the night before. Ava was constantly rubbing her hands, biting her lips. Cameron was silent, staring blankly at the fire. Mia. It was as if she had never even been there. From that day on, every time I entered a tent, something different would happen. One night, Ava stood outside my tent, leaned in, and whispered, "Ellis, you need to leave this tent." But Ava was asleep in the other tent at that exact moment. I found Joel crying one morning. "I saw Mia in my dream," he said. "She wanted me to come back, but her eyes were missing." After that night, no one ever mixed up the tents again. But me. I'm still not sure. That first night, did I really go into the wrong tent? Or did a tent choose me? Because in Rocky Pine, some tents don't belong to anyone. Some tents are places, and some places choose people. And once you're inside, you better make sure no one else is already there. If this story pulled you in, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because sometimes walking into the wrong tent might leave you in a night you never wake up from. My name is Casey. I'm 33 years old. And the story I'm about to tell you, it's not just a camping story. It's about a place where reality slowly melts away, where time bends, and the reflection in the water no longer belongs to you. Last summer, 3 of my old college friends and I were looking for a place to disconnect. No phones, no signal, no crowds. Just silence. That's when we found Mirror Hollow, a lake so remote, it barely showed up on any map. It was me, Liz, Marco, and Dean. There was barely any info online. Just a few cryptic posts on old forums. One said, "If you find the path, you'll set up camp, but you may never find your way back." We thought it was just a creepy legend. We wanted a real nature experience. And we got more than we bargained for. The first night, we set up camp by the water. We made dinner, looked at the stars, sang old songs. It felt perfect. But sometime around midnight, a light appeared in the center of the lake. It looked like a glowing ring, right in the middle. It wasn't a reflection. It wasn't moonlight. And none of us said a word. We just stared. When we woke up the next morning, Marco was gone. His tent was empty. His shoes still by the door. No signs. No tracks. We called his name, searched the forest. But our voices, they didn't echo. Even worse, the lake had stopped moving. Liz broke down crying. Dean had a full-blown panic attack. And I felt like something was pulling me toward the water. Like there was a silent call I couldn't ignore. When I got close to the shore, my reflection was gone. All of ours were. Instead, 4 shadowy figures moved beneath the surface. They looked like us, only dimmer. And one of them was Marco. The next night, Dean sat alone by the lake. "I saw them," he said. "They lit a fire. They smiled. But none of them had eyes." By morning, Dean was gone too. And now, there were 2 lights in the water. Liz and I packed up like maniacs. But the compass wouldn't turn. The GPS froze. And the forest, it wasn't the same anymore. One morning, Liz woke up, and she couldn't speak. Her mouth moved, but there was no sound. I was forgetting details by the minute. Why we came, who we were. The last night, I walked down to the lake, because I saw another me. Same clothes, same scar on my arm. But he didn't look back. He smiled, waved, and slowly dove into the water. The last thing I remember was following him in. When I opened my eyes again, I was in my tent. But the lake made no sound. No birds. No wind. Just a note lying by my sleeping bag. Every reflection has a price. If this story pulled you in, don't forget to subscribe. Because some lakes don't just watch you. They slowly take your place. My name is Logan, and what I'm about to tell you isn't just about camping. It's about what happens when time slips, and you're not the one who gets lost. Time loses you. Last summer, my cousin Riley, our friend Bennett, and I went camping in a remote forest in Montana. This place wasn't even on the map. We found it mentioned on some ancient hiking blog. It was called Still Grove. The name meant motionless grove. But to us, it was where time froze. The first day took forever to get there. Our GPS stopped working, but we eventually reached the forest's edge. There was an old stone post at the entrance, with something carved into it. Time walks here, but never walks back. We laughed it off. That night, we set up camp and lit the fire. Riley was strumming his guitar, Bennett was fiddling with this old compass, and I was trying to wind up my vintage pocket watch. But that night, no clock worked. Even our phones stopped showing the time. Every single one froze at exactly 3:17 a.m. The next day, we tried to keep time by watching the sky. But the sun never rose. There was only this constant, gray twilight, like it was always stuck between morning and evening. That night, Bennett vanished. His tent and gear were untouched, but he was just gone. And that's when Riley and I noticed something else. About 50 meters from our campsite, there was an old clock tower. It wasn't on the map, and it definitely wasn't there when we arrived. It only showed up after midnight. The next night, we found the tower's door wide open. We went inside. There were creaky wooden stairs, giant turning gears, and at the very top, a huge ancient clock. But the hands were turning backwards. With every tick, a voice echoed through the tower. "Time's up." Riley tried to run, but the staircase was gone. And when we looked down, we saw something terrifying. Reflections of us on the ground floor. Still, silent, watching. Then, time rewound. I woke up back at the first night. Same fire, same songs. But Bennett was still gone. And Riley remembered nothing. But I knew. I looked down at my wrist. My watch was still stuck at 3:17. And then, someone whispered behind me, "You came back. This time, you're staying." If this story pulled you in, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Because some forests don't just want you to get lost. They want your time.